Disha Ravi, the 22-year-old climate activist, was given bail in the Toolkit case today. In its order, the court has said a lot of very important things, and I'm going to try and quote some of what's been said in court today. The court says that considering the scanty and sketchy evidence, there were no palpable reasons to breach the rule of bail for the 22-year-old girl who has absolutely no criminal antecedents. The bail order also said nothing on record to suggest that the applicant or the accused subscribed to secessionist ideas. The prosecution has failed to point out how Disha gave global audience to secessionist elements. Not even an iota of evidence connecting perpetrators of violence to the applicant or accused has been submitted by the Delhi police. The right to dissent is firmly enshrined under Article 19 of the Constitution of India. The judge also said the freedom of speech and expression includes the right to seek a global audience. The citizens cannot be put behind bars simply because they choose to disagree with state policies. The offence of sedition cannot be invoked to minister the wounded vanity of the government. As a part of the bail conditions, the Delhi court has directed Disha Ravi to cooperate with the Delhi police investigation, which, remember, is ongoing. The court has said that Disha Ravi shall not be able to leave the country and will have to appear before the court concerned at each and every stage of the proceeding. So this, of course, is Judge Dharmendra Rana's bail order. It is an extremely significant order, and a lot of very significant things have been said as well. Let's listen in to the first reaction that's coming in from Disha Ravi's mother.
वो आयुर्वेदिक मेडिसिन उन्होंने ऐसा कहा है कि WHO DCGI ने अप्रूव किया है. WHO के ऑफिशियल ट्विटर.
All right, let's go right across to Mukund Gowda, citizen activist, joining us on the broadcast. We have Lubhyati Rangarajan, lawyer and researcher collaborating with Article 14, a digital media organization. Ashutosh Srivastav, Supreme Court lawyer, also joining us. Ashutosh Srivastav, I want to come to you first.
Yes.
You know, I've tried to quote some of what's been said in that bail order. Very significant, things that have been said by the judge in that bail order. What do you make of this?
See, first of all, as I had already said, that since the arrest was only for the purpose of investigation, and when an investigation is complete or the recovery of all the important evidences and documents or maybe electronic gadgets or whatever is involved into the alleged crime which has happened or not happened, after collecting everything, when the judge is satisfied that nothing is incriminating and also the prima facie evidence against the accused, that even after the investigation during the police custody, what has been done, where the investigation has gone, what has been collected against a person. And if the court is satisfied that there is not concrete iota of evidence against an accused, and also that the investigation is complete and nothing is to be recovered further from that person. So obviously the court has the powers to grant bail on certain terms and conditions. And accordingly, in this case, I think Disha has been given the bail, and obviously the trial will go on.
Yes.
Yes, the trial will go on. Further investigation will also take place.
2 points that I want you to specifically react to before I bring in Mukund and Lubhyati into the conversation. One is sedition can't be invoked to minister wounded vanity of governments. This is a very strong statement that's been made in this bail order. Also, significantly, the court has noted while granting Disha Ravi bail that citizens can't be put behind bars because they disagree with the state. What do you make of What do you make of these two lines, along with the fact that the court said there was no evidence against her?
Yes, the Delhi police was given sufficient time to prove the case for which they had registered the FIR against Disha and others. So obviously it was the duty of the police, because they would have some kind of information or some prima facie evidence which prompted them for further investigation. And obviously the court said that as Article 14, Article 19 also gives freedom of speech and expression to the citizens of this country, not only in India but also it gives for the global audiences. So obviously those things have been considered, because that cannot itself be a crime. The crime has to be proved with the evidences as to the if Section 124A has been implicated, So obviously there has to be something which can show that the purpose of the entire, the issue was to show that disaffection against the government, or to destabilize the government, or to gather the people outside.
No, showing disaffection.
Such an act.
No, one second. Showing disaffection and being accused of destabilizing the government are two very, very different things. Lupiti, do you want to come in here and quickly react to these developments that have taken place? And a lot of what has been said in terms of scanty, sketchy evidence, you can't just be put behind bars because you don't agree with your state, right to dissent, all of this. I mean, a lot of very significant things have been noted in this bail order.
Yes, I completely agree.
Lupiti,
the judge
Lupiti, please.
Right, thank you. Yes, I think first congratulations are of course due to Disha's lawyers here, her defense counsel, who obviously put out very good sort of arguments challenging, her arrest. And I think for me, my first reaction was how important it is to have really good legal representation in order to put forth these arguments in court, so the court can finally deliberate on each of them point by point and either agree or disagree. Obviously here they've released her. So I think first I must congratulate her lawyers. I think second, this conversation around also the legal process really, which is the bail order here. One of the things that the court said here was that the arguments by the prosecution were ornamental in nature regarding her bail plea, and I think that is also a very important point here because you earlier mentioned the Varavara Rao case as well, and I think even there the manner in which the prosecution is sort of very vehemently opposing bail pleas in a lot of sedition cases is also something to note in all bail arguments, because clearly even though they're making arguments around sinister conspiracies, vague allegations, and very clearly saying in court that no direct evidence is available, and this is what the prosecution has said, I think this is something to sort of be aware of in all bail pleas in sedition cases. We're also probably lucky that Disha's bail plea got to be live tweeted. Her proceedings were live tweeted, and we got to see how these arguments were being made in court. There are many such cases in which we don't get to see this, but that are equally egregious and equally in terms of the violations that occur. Also, the Delhi High Court is, the Delhi Trial Court, this is not the only time this month. They've, granted bail earlier this month in the case of a farmers' protest. They once again reiterated the prosecution's sketchy evidence in this order called Swaroop Ram, and he was granted bail. He was a 21-year-old laborer. He only forwarded a video. He wasn't the author of the video. So I think all of these elements clearly show that, you obviously need evidence even at this stage in order to arrest someone.
Ashwini Dubey is also with us. There's this whole narrative that the court has talked about, which is extremely interesting, which is that citizens are conscience keepers of a government in a democracy, and therefore the right to dissent is enshrined in our constitution. The right to dissent, has been treated as an offence. It's you're painted in the light of being an anti-national, or if you criticize the state, you're looked at as if you're against the state. What do you make, therefore, of this bail order and some of the very significant notings of it?
Thank you, Rishika, for having me again here with you. Rishika, two things. One, first you said the right to dissent. Yes, it's a universal truth, and there is Supreme Court from time to time, the custodian of the Constitution has said that in democracy, right to dissent cannot be curtailed. And 19(1)(a) of the Constitution of India also provides it. At the same time, Rishika, that 19 to put an embargo that has to be with reasonable restrictions. This is one. And the reasonable restrictions are duty cast upon all of us, me, you, and all other my learned friends who are sitting here on the panel, that we all have to, whatever we have to do, that we have to do with the reasonable restrictions, so that the fundamental rights as well as the law of the country is not violated. One. And the second, so far as the bail order is concerned, there are three stages of a criminal case, Rishika. One, the suspect, the accused, and then the conviction. And that we should say that the acquittal or the conviction. Registration of an FIR, arrest of an accused person, and charge sheeting of the accused, and the final outcome. These
What's
are
your
the,
point?
the criminal
What's
law.
your point?
Now the point, Rishika, that's what I'm saying. Allow me to conclude in 30 seconds. One. So here it's a temporary release of an accused person, this is my point, the temporary release of an accused person from an offense does not mean that the person has not violated the law.
Okay.
Rishika, it will be decided.
Okay.
That is
Irrespective of the fact that scanty and sketchy evidence on record, I will continue to have this conversation. I'm afraid I have to slip into a very short break, but all our panelists will continue to be live with us on the other side, and we'll track every detail and development of this big story. Stay with us. Welcome back. The 22-year-old activist Disha Ravi has in fact been granted bail by a Delhi court. She's arrived at the Tihar jail. Remember, once the bail order is in fact presented at Tihar jail, she will finally be released. Those are pictures from just moments ago of activist Disha Ravi arriving there at the Tihar jail. Mukund Gaura, Lubiti Rangarajan, Ashutosh Srivastava and Ashwini Dubey continue to be live with us. Ashwini Dubey, I had to interrupt you, but very quickly do complete what you were saying. And also, a quick question on if the evidence indeed against Disha Ravi is scanty and sketchy and the judge finds absolutely no reason to breach the rule of bail for a 22-year-old who has no criminal history. Do you believe that her arrest was premature?
There are two things. Again, two things. One, that the criminal has no age for any class of criminal.
My question is, do you believe that her arrest was premature?
Again and again, I'm saying that the 22-year here, when the offense is committed, the age doesn't matter.
Okay, fair enough. Do you believe still that her arrest was premature?
Rishika, as of now, because the court has evaluated, considered and taken into consideration the evidences which has been procured by the police after the investigation. And when an FIR is registered...
But what evidence? They are saying there's no evidence.
So evidence is that's what. The evidences will be evaluated at the time of framing of charge, Rishika. In a criminal case, there are 3 stages.
Okay.
As of now, since the police was investigating the allegations with regard to the conspiracy of Disha Ravi with the pro-Khalistani Canadian organization Poetic Justice Foundation and a banned terrorist organization.
You've highlighted that point on the broadcast time and time again, but I also want to highlight the other side of it, which is that scanty and sketchy evidence is on record. After 9 days of custody, they still haven't been able to prove anything against Disha Ravi, which is why she's been granted bail today. Mukund Gaura, I want to bring you in because a lot has been said about citizen activists and what this particular case would do to the spirit of citizen activism here in India. The right to dissent being talked about and the freedom to, seek a global audience over issues. All of those things being talked about in court today. What do you make of these developments?
Thanks. So from the day Disha was arrested, people were asking me, are citizen activists going to be on a silent mode from now? I was also telling that though we have a personal life and also the activism life, we are also afraid of these powerful people framing charges against us. Now that Disha Ravi has been granted bail, and you have also made a point, quoted what the Honorable Court has said. We as citizen activists are confident that our citizen activism will be threatened by a lot of people, but still with respect to the legal knowledge that we have and the experts that those who support us will definitely help us in such terrible times. Now that the court has also said that sketchy and scanty evidences, if the previous media notes and also the notes which have come in the social media, which quoted Poetic Justice Foundation, Khalistani, and some channels and some papers also have quoted ISI. If these things were real, and at least even a small 1% of evidence were there to frame her in these cases, the judge wouldn't have granted a bail. So what I can conclude is all these times, whatever statements that people were giving, politicians were giving with respect to Khalistani, ISI, everything was fake. And now that she has been granted bail after 7 days, and this is going to be a black mark for the rest of her life. Yes. And we as citizen activists should be afraid that even though the government or police will not have evidences, we can be booked under cases and kept in jail for 5 to 10 days, which is not a big matter for them, but it's a black mark in our career and in our life, right?
Right. I think that's very important, Mukund Gaura, what you say, that while of course many are looking at Disha Ravi being given bail today as a big win in her fight, The fact really is that she has been kept behind bars for 9 days, and today the court, while giving her bail, has noted that there is sketchy, scanty evidence and no reason really to keep her in custody anymore. Needless to say, the case continues, the investigation will continue. She's been granted bail. We'll keep a close watch on this investigation. Thank you all very much for joining me with your perspectives.